the only gavel I have. I can call the meeting to order with this thing. Hope you enjoy. Do we have Mr. Sims available?
I see him on the meeting. I'll ask that he start his video, but he may have stepped away. I do see we've got Mike Rooker on the call, who will be presenting.
Mr. Rooker, I mean, we have a quorum and we can start, I think. I'd just like to give Mr. Sims another minute. But if you're going to share a screen, now would be a good time to put that up.
So, Councilmember Volan, I do not have a screen to share. This is a really relatively simple matter. Just sort of
okay, well then we'll just give it one more minute and otherwise we'll start.
Great, and I do want to apologize as well. My laptop is not equipped with a webcam, so unfortunately it will be audio only for me, so I do apologize.
I can't say that I blame you, honestly. There he is. Welcome, Councilmember Sims. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Administration Committee for May 27th. We have one item on the agenda, Ordinance 2010, amending Title 15, Vehicles and Traffic regarding fees for impoundment of vehicles. Mr. Rooker, would you please give us the skinny?
Yes, thank you, members of the Common Council. I come before you here with what would properly be described as a simple cleanup ordinance.
Could I just ask you to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, excuse me. The formalities are so awkward. Michael Rooker, City Attorney for the City of Bloomington.
That's all, thank you.
So I come before you with a pretty simple cleanup ordinance here. As you all probably recall, earlier this year, the council both proposed and adopted an ordinance establishing rules for non-consensual towing performed within the City of Bloomington. During that process, the administration, so our side, expressed our preference that the rules for both non-consensual or private tows would end up aligning with the rules in place for public tows. Specifically, that means tows initiated by the police department or parking enforcement personnel. By updating the rules for public tows in proposed ordinance 2010, we'll create one uniform set of rules for both public and private tows. Having one uniform set of rules for both public and private tows will make it easier for members of the public to understand what the rules are related to towing. It'll make it easier for towing companies to comply with the city's rules and regulations, and it will make it easier for police officers and other city staff members to ensure that when they're enforcing these rules, they're doing it properly. So two sets of rules is more confusing than one. To that end, Ordinance 2010 proposes the following changes to the rules governing public tows. Number one, it proposes increasing the total base towing fee that may be charged by an authorized towing service for a public tow from $125 to $135, which is the base fee permitted for private tows, non-consensual tows. Ordinance 2010 requires towing companies to release a vehicle, so upon payment of 20% of the total fees owed if the owner signs an agreement to pay the remainder. And that's a rule again in place for non-consensual tows. And then Ordinance 2010 clarifies that storage charges may not be assessed against a vehicle until a vehicle has been in storage for at least 24 hours. Again, just bringing the rules for public tows into line with those for private tows. And I hope these rules still sound somewhat familiar to the council. I know a huge amount of things have happened since the non-consensual towing ordinance was passed, but they are the same rules that were imposed earlier this year as part of the non-consensual towing ordinance. So obviously we'd ask that the committee give a positive recommendation on Ordinance 2010. And of course, I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Rooker. With that, are there questions from my colleagues on the committee about Ordinance 2010? Seeing none, we'll go to the public. Is there a member of the public who would like to express an opinion on Ordinance 2010? If so, please raise your hand in Zoom or type something into the chat and Mr. Lucas will acknowledge you. Is there anyone who would like to speak to Ordinance 2010 to the committee? Give it a few seconds. Mr. Lucas, has anyone raised their hand or indicated their desire to speak to this issue?
No.
All right. Well, we will come back to the committee now for debate. Is there any discussion, comment on Ordinance 2010? Nobody? Okay, well, then I'll entertain a motion for a recommendation.
So moved.
What's the recommendation?
Jim, do you want to do this?
Well, yeah. Now say that again, the recommendation.
Well, you need to be more specific. Like, what do you recommend?
I'm so sorry. I'd like to make a motion that we vote on a positive recommendation to be sent to the council for further consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Need a second. We have a motion a second. I'll poll my colleagues. Councilmember Rollo. Yeah, Councilmember Rollo.
Yes.
Did we keep you from speaking before?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Just-
Councilmember Sims.
Just now.
Yes.
Councilmember Scamboluri.
Yes.
And I also say yes. So that's a 4-0 recommendation for Ordinance 2010. That concludes our business for this evening. Councilmember or Mr. Lucas.
Just a reminder that the committee will need to send a report back to the full council before next week's meeting. I'm happy to help prepare that. This might be the shortest committee meeting I've ever seen. So I will send that to all the members, but would appreciate your response in approving that report.
Well, I think we will do that. Mr. Sims.
I would say that we're trying to set a precedent for future standing committee meetings from the time frame standpoint. Thank you.
All right. With that, if there's no objection, this meeting will be adjourned. Where's my gavel? Wait a second. Here we go. Here we go. Meeting adjourned.